Hey, Treasure Hunt fans, Joe Bob, Big D back here again with Big D's quick movie review. So, what I like to do about once a week is I usually go to the movies over the course of a weekend. Usually not every weekend, but I usually do. So I try to do these things now. I'm doing a quick movie review of certain movies. So this movie I saw last weekend, and I actually saw it at a drive-in, believe it or not. We do have a drive-in in San Jose, which is about 45 minutes away from where I live. My wife and I ventured out because we wanted to go to the drive-in. We had been there in a while, so we saw a double feature. We saw Good Boys, which I reviewed a while ago, and then we saw Hustlers. So I figured I'd talk to you about Hustlers today in my quick review. There's no real spoilers, although this is pretty well known. This happened back in 2008, so it's based on a true story. So the information is already out there, but essentially you have a group of girls in a nutshell. You got a group of girls who are exotic dancers. Then the crash of 2008 happens, and they're kind of wandering around for a while because they're not making that money anymore. They were making just cash hand over fist before 2008's crash happened. They were making a lot of money, people were tipping them $1,000. So it was like, whoa! After the crash, they didn't have anything. Everything fell out. The clubs weren't drawing as many people anymore because people didn't have any money. So that's when Jennifer Lopez and Constance Wu, the two main characters of the movie, came up with their grand plan to basically steal money from a bunch of people. So essentially, what they did was they'd find these men at a bar, not at the club, not at the exotic dance club. They'd find a regular bar guy sitting there. They had a certain profile they were looking for a guy. They would find that guy. They'd walk up. This is where it got really kind of like, I was like, really? They would roofie him. So it was a combination of fentanyl and ecstasy. So in other words, the fentanyl would affect their memory, and the ecstasy made them really loose and kind of easy to digest, I guess. So that's when they do that, they would drag the guy to the club. The guy could probably, once the drugs kicked in, the guys could hardly stand up anymore. They were like falling over. They'd be drugged into the club. Once they would get in there, because they were so easy to be suggested to, because they're pretty much out of it. Girls would get their credit card, and they would get information from them, like their mother's maiden name, their social security number. They would call up the bank, find out how much what a balance was on the credit card, and then they would charge up to that balance. So in one case, there was one guy, it was $100,000. And nobody would report it because of the fact everybody was either they had a wife or a girlfriend, they didn't want to know about that, or because they were embarrassed because they got swindled out by a bunch of girls, so nobody would ever say anything. They kind of kept it going for a few years. They were making money, and then they got caught. So that's essentially the story in a nutshell. There's a lot of things that happen in between. I know that I did some research on it, and I found that there's several things in the movie that didn't happen, but there are several things in the movie that actually did happen. In my opinion, the movie, I thought it was okay. I usually hear me on here, I do a review, go, oh, I love this, I like this. This movie was really run-of-the-mill. There wasn't really anything special. I don't think the acting was that great. Although J-Lo did a really good job of dancing. I mean, she was incredible as a dancer. I was like completely blown away. I figured, she'll kind of just throw it in. But she could tell she really did her work because she really knew how to dance. Constance Wu, I felt, was really robotic through the majority of the movie. And she had this haircut that drove me nuts because it just looked terrible. But and all kidding aside, I mean, there wasn't really much to the movie. You kind of figured the plot out within the first 10 minutes of the movie, and the rest of the movie was kind of really long and drawn out. And like the director tried to make you sympathize for these women, but I had a really hard time sympathizing for them because the whole point of them doing this to these guys was because they lived this lavish lifestyle. And when it was taken away from them in the 2008 crash, when the market kind of went south, they wanted to still live that lavish lifestyle, so they started doing this. And I mean, they were swindling. There was $50,000, $100,000. I mean, I kind of was tallying some money up. It had to be a few $1 million because they were doing it for a couple of years. A few $1 million. They swindled all these men, and then so they tried to get you to sympathize. I just couldn't. I tried really hard, but I couldn't because all I kept thinking was, you're roofing these guys, then taking all their money. And what's the difference between that and then some guy going into a bar and roofing a girl and taking her home and doing stuff where he shouldn't? That is absolutely terrible. It kind of felt like the same thing to me. Like it was the same thing. You're roofing somebody to take advantage of them. And so although the director tried really hard to make you sympathetic, and they really tried with Constance Wu to show like, oh, she left the life, but she was having a hard time, and her husband was a jerk, so she had to come back to it. Essentially they just wanted to grab, there was a money grab thing. That's all it was. They wanted as much money as they could. And then I don't think the movie did a very good job in explaining the end of the movie and how they got sentenced and why they got sentenced for what they did. They changed a little bit of the ending, what really happened. And I don't want to explain it to you because it'll kind of ruin some things. but I felt like they didn't do a very good job. So you left the movie thinking, well, and it wasn't until I did the research so I understood why they got the sentences they did. But in the movie, you're kind of left with like, really? So I don't know. It was an okay movie. We really went to go see Good Boys, and it was attached to Good Boys, so we watched it. But honestly, I don't think it's anything special. Honestly, I'd give it a 4 out of no. I take it back. I'd give it a 5 out of 10 on my Red Vine scale. 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. Give it a 5. It's got some pretty good music in it, and some of the dancing was decent. Although everybody thinks the whole movie takes place at a strip club, it really doesn't. I would say only maybe 20% of the movie takes place there. It's a lot of stuff takes place at a lot of other places. So it was an okay movie. I wouldn't go to the theater and pay for it. I'd wait for it to pop up on HBO. Probably will not be a movie I will own in my personal collection. I don't see watching it over again because there's nothing really to watch over again. There's nothing really to go, like a lot of times I buy movies. I buy specifically because there's certain scenes, there's certain things that go on in the movie. So something happens in the movie that I really enjoy and I want to see it over and over again. Or I just like the overall movie in general, the whole movie in general, kind of like Ready Player One. I love that movie from beginning to end. I'll watch that movie anytime because of the fact I just love the whole movie. There's nothing really in this movie that makes me go, I want to see that again. There's just nothing. So, it's all right. So that's it for Hustlers. I would say viewer beware. I think that there's a lot of choices in the theater right now, and I would say this is probably not your first choice, but if you're a big J-Lo fan, you should actually really like it. J-Lo's in it quite a bit. But again, coming off of Crazy Rich Asians, coming into this movie, I feel like Constance Wu lost something from one to the other. I think that like Crazy Rich Asians, I think she did a really good job, but I also think the fact that like she was still new to acting in a movie, not in TV. Obviously, she's been on a TV show for a few years, to a new movie. So it seemed like she was really fresh. But in this movie, it seemed like more like, well, I had a big rate movie, so this is what we're going to do now. And I'm a big name actress. It just felt like, I don't know, her performance really felt like forced. So, but that's my opinion. Leave me some comments down below. Let me know what you thought. If you saw the movie, let me know what you thought about it. Leave me a like if you enjoyed the video. Click the subscribe button if you want to see more videos by Big D. The little bell when you notify you when I put videos. Again, thank you all for watching. This went a couple minutes longer than I normally would take, but I felt I had to say a few more things. Thank you guys all for watching. Everybody take care out there, and as always, live long and prosper. Bye.